So today we're talking to Michael White, who is the husband of a very, very good friend of BCIL, Kay McShane. Michael, you're very welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. Thanks for asking me.
So tell us a bit about yourself and where you met Kay and how you got together and all that.
Well, we were both disabled, so we had that in common. And we were both in wheelchairs, so we had more in common. And I grew up involved in sport, snooker I used to play. And I knew Kay in passing, because in IWA, Irish Wheelchair Circles, and sport, world sporting circles, she was well known. She was a pusher, not a drugs pusher. I shouldn't use that word, I should find some other word than a pusher. But she was a wheelchair athlete and did marathons and stuff very, very successfully. So I'd see her every now and then in passing. Maybe she tried archery one time down in IWA, and I was watching one day and I was watching her archery. They nearly had to clear the place.
Really?
They'd have to go over to the walls because she was dreadful. There was a big I was going to say dartboard, big target, a good fair distance down, and the object was to get the bullseye, same as if it was darts. And an odd time she hit the oak, but most of the time it went all over the place.
Right.
She was very good at everything.
Yeah.
But whatever it was, sure, whatever the thing about the bow and arrow.
Yeah.
And bows and arrows are not like when Robin Hood was around.
Not
These things had all sorts of sights and things out the side and all. So how you wouldn't be able to hit anything? But there we are. And so I used to laugh, and she'd come out there and he'd be out to me for laughing. And that's how we met. Down there in Clontarf and IWA. And then we just took an interest in each other. I used to go and watch her if she was competing, and most of the time she wouldn't come to see me when I was competing. It was too boring. Snooker,
right.
Snooker wasn't great. And so that's how we started out just being friends, and then slowly but surely it developed into a relationship.
Very good.
And it was great. She was terrific. Kay was, I was fairly okay. I did well at snooker. We're well travelled, both of us.
Right.
Kay and I were.
This before you met?
All around the world. Travelled. I could tell you all the places I was in. All just because I could hit a ball on the snooker table.
Very good.
And after that, after a few years when snooker was started dying out, it was into pool.
Yeah.
And that's not a game at all.
No.
No respect for it whatsoever. People who can't play snooker play pool.
Yeah.
It's not great. But so that's how we used to travel around a lot and playing competitions, and she would too. So we wouldn't be that much together going to places.
Yeah.
So really, what she was living in I can't name, just at in town, top of Dorset Street. I can't name the name of the road, but she lived there, and that's where she used to. I'd go down and meet her, and we'd go off. Then we drive out to Clontarf, park in a little car park there, and she'd get her chair out, and off she'd go. I'd stay there, an hour and a half. She pushed it 10 miles out to Holt, and then pushed back. That was her training routine. Yeah. That was 3 or 4 times a week. I mean, she was deadly. And if it was a race, if there was a race on, you couldn't talk to her. She was focused all the time.
Right.
So you ask a question, you get a snappy answer. And Kay, you knew Kay very well.
Yeah.
She was not a snappy person
not
at all.
Bit.
Most friendly person you ever met. Always had a smile on her face. Nothing fazed her. If she got disappointments or anything, they were put behind her very quick. She was great at that. But when she was focused and she was in a race that day, you better stay clear.
And the race is a marathon.
Most of the time she was training for marathons, but she did all sorts of other races. She was not all over Europe in very seldom shorter than 5,000 metres. She did a lot of 5,000 metres. and a good few 10,000 metres. But our biggest successes were marathons. She won the London Marathon in 1984, 85 and 86, the
Wow.
wheelchair section. And the same with the Dublin Marathon, those 3 years. She won she won all sorts of road races all over Europe. Like, she wasn't a one-trick pony by any means, not even
No.
and in the Paralympics, she won a silver medal in the marathon in 1984. And in 1988, she won a silver medal in the marathon. No, sorry, a bronze in the marathon and a bronze in the 800 metres.
Wow.
Which was
That's
like
some
a
difference.
sprinter running the, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know how she did it. And have you heard of a person called Tanny Gray?
Yes.
Dame Tanny Gray.
Yeah.
She was a great wheelchair athlete
That's
as
right.
well. She was fourth when Kay was third.
Really?
So that day she was unbelievable. There was snots flying all over the place in that straight, and your woman was trying the best she could,
Yeah.
Tanny, to catch her. She couldn't. She was like these horses. Some horses are like that in racing.
Yeah.
But once you come up and eyeball them, you're not going to get past them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so she was right there on Kay's shoulder, but she couldn't get past. And that was
Right.
her distance. It wasn't Kay's. That's just one little story about Kay. But that's the kind of lady that Kay was. She was also involved in a lot of stuff off the track.
Right.
She would always stand up for anybody or any cause that was, that she felt strongly about.
Yes.
If anyone was being dishonoured or anything like that, she took that personally as if
Right.
it was her. But in doing that, she was very, very tactful and nice. People always listened to her because she wouldn't go in fighting like I would.
Yes.
You can't do this, you're disgraceful, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
She talked to them and expressed how she felt, and by the time she was finished, they almost found themselves agreeing with her. Even though,
She had a great way about her.
oh, she had fantastic, yeah. But that was just her. It was just natural. She was from, I don't know if that's enough of her sporting career. Do you want to talk about her, or do you want to talk about a bit others? I'm trying to think of some other stories that I'd have.
The more the merrier.
I'll tell you the first time that when we met down in IWA, after that she told me this story, how she first saw me and noticed me. We were on, at that time, it's not like now, it's all very high powered.
Yes.
If you're involved in wheelchair sport, different sports fly off to far-flung destinations for competitions. In those days, you got the boat across
And everyone went together.
to the mainland,
Right.
and if over to England, and then if you were going to play in Belgium or somewhere like that, then you went on through in trains or wherever. And on the boat on the way over, she said you'd be lying on the seats on the deck if it was warm,
Yes.
if the humidity was high or anything. And she said she remembered this night that she was lying there and she had a blanket over her, but it wasn't right over her. And I was going past, and I just put it over like you would if you're passing anybody.
Ah.
I didn't know. I knew who she was because I'd seen her about the place, but it wasn't anything other than if it was anyone lying there, I would put it.
You did
just,
the
you
same,
would.
yeah.
You do the same yourself. You just put it over the person because you think it might get cold. And she said she remembered that always afterwards. So that's how she started noticing me and seeing me. So it became a kind of a very great thing between us.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to be with her for 30 years
Brilliant.
before she passed away.
Yeah.
So I can never complain that she passed away and I'm here now without her, because I was very, very lucky to have met a person like her, and for her to feel the same about me was jackpot.
Great to think like that.
Oh yeah, oh no, it was marvellous. I don't know, fictionally or in movies or anything else, a better relationship between two people.
Right.
Never rowed,
Yeah.
never anything. About 9 or 10 years ago, in our apartment over here in Mulhuddart,
Yeah.
we were there. We'd only just moved in. It wasn't long moved in, and early morning. No, I'll tell the story properly. On a Wednesday, about 4 o'clock in the morning, our alarm went off. We had an alarm. So I hopped out, flew out, turned the alarm off, and went out, and I could hear this kind of a sound from the window.
Yeah.
And it's double glazing. The outside pane of glass on the double glazing was shattered.
Oh.
All little flicky, but didn't break and
Yeah.
fall. The other one was the one nearest. It was perfect.
Wow.
And so I thought someone maybe fired a stone. There was no one around. I went outside. Next day, called up the glass people. It said it'd be a week. It's specially reinforced glass.
Yeah.
That's why it didn't go completely. And so it would be a week. So fair enough, okay. So we order one, and then we go about our business. And about 6:30 on the following Sunday morning, 3 or 4 days later, alarm goes off again. And I go outside, and as I go into the sitting room, we're on the little hall, and into the sitting room, this fella comes through the window.
Really?
Smashed right through and topped me. He had a very small thing. I don't know what he had in his hand. I put that through your so-and-so head, he says. And I couldn't even see anything. I was wondering what he was threatening me with. But he flung me to one side anyway, and into the bedroom he went, running in. I'm trying to go in after him. By this time he's coming out.
Yeah.
I could hear Kay shouting at him and using words she normally doesn't use.
Of course, yeah.
And I'm not afraid to. And he had our handbag and our car keys, and he went through the door. And as he went out through the window, I could hear him talking. There was another guy
Right.
waiting outside our backup.
Yeah.
You're obviously targeted, but why they think that 2 elderly people in wheelchairs would have money or anything, I don't know.
I don't think like we
And
can.
this guy was definitely stoned. He had an anorak up to here, so he could only see that. So I could not identify him or say who he looked like. And anyway, out he goes, gets in the car, he drove out the gate of the little apartments, and just up from us, a little turn into Travellers. There's a couple of houses there, Travellers living. And when he passed the stuff onto your man, he got into the car.
Right.
And the guy ran up the road and into where the Travellers are. I could see him going up. And this guy went into our car, and he's driving it out, and a chap from upstairs lives up over us, had heard what was going on, and ran down the stairs, and lucky the man was gone, because he'd a thing that night, that long, like when you're a machete, more than it wasn't an actual machete, it was the same size and whatever. He ran and got into his van and followed your man. Your man went all over the estate, all around the place, and stopped at his wall, hopped over the wall, and went into the same house. The Travellers. I mean, they weren't too clever.
Yeah.
Anyway, lucky enough, no one was injured
Badly
or anything like that. But this was the way we were. Kay came out of the room, and I'm inside, and they're gone now at this stage. Cops didn't come for an hour and a half.
Of course.
Youths. So, but I just looked over and I said, "You all right? Yeah, you all right? Yeah."
No problem.
No shock. No looking for this, that, or the other. I didn't even go and have a drink, and a plenty drink in the house. Not a thing. But that's the way we were.
So they came back the second night. They obviously tried to get in the first night and unsuccessfully.
That's why we figured that when it didn't go through the first night, they probably said, well, this second pane is going to be breakable.
Yeah.
And it was. And the guy who fit the glass, when he did fit it, said that he was at that game for 11 years. He said, I've never heard of anyone going through, being able to go through those 2 panes of glass.
Wow.
Or even trying. I never heard of an incident like that. So that was that. But that was another little incident we had.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lead on, if you will.
To Spike. Right.
First of all, you might tell us, what is that all about?
Right.
What?
First of all, Kay was from Cove.
Okay.
And Spike Island is a small little island off the jetty of Cove. You can see over to it.
Yeah.
And and it's a famous place. It was a prison.
Yeah.
It was the biggest prison in Ireland. I think actually it might have been in Europe. It had 3,000 prisoners at one stage. And it was also, I think the prison came before the army barracks.
Yeah.
There was an army barracks as well after that. And Kay's father was a soldier. And so that's where he was stationed, and that's where she was reared. And that's the connection between us and Cove and Spike.
Right.
Well, she grew up on it. She used to come in every day. She used to tell me how if the water was choppy, when she'd come across on the boat to go to school, it would come near the quayside, but it wouldn't be right up against it, because it's just an ordinary little boat. And so she'd have to wait for the rocking of the boat till it came in level and hop on her crutches off the boat onto the quay. And then she'd have to wait in the afternoon when she finished school. She'd have to wait in the afternoon then until the water was calm enough so she could get back on the boat to go home.
Right.
Right. So that's Spike.
Right. And
Now,
what's the celebration?
now-
What was the celebration today?
Which?
What was the reason why they were honouring her?
Right. Oh, and so, well, you see, after that then, it became a tourist attraction,
Okay.
and still is. Loads of visitors go every year over to it. They say, the reason we went down and the reason this thing was all taking place, her sister, 3 sisters, still live in Cove.
Okay.
I call them the Sisters of Cove. And they look after her grave. Her grave is down there. And she's another sister in England. And between them all, they were all a very close family. So the fort where I'll describe it better. When you go from the quayside over onto the island,
Okay.
there's about, it's 400 metres. I only know it's told, very steep hill
Okay.
up till you get onto a level bit, and after that then it would be accessible to anybody.
Right.
But you still had to get there before you were starting of anything.
Yeah.
And so you'd have to have a couple of fellas with you, at least one big strong fella, or a couple of fellas to be able to get it.
That's if you're in a chair.
In a chair.
Okay.
And you'd be better off in the chair if someone was pushing you than somebody who was, what's the word, had a disability where they maybe had a walking stick or crutches or anything. They were worse off. It was very steep for them.
Right.
Again, they nearly had to be carried. They had a bus on the island that was for maintenance work and stuff like that to do at the place. And so occasionally they might give a few of the tourists a little lift on the bus to get them up to the top of the hill. But it wasn't wheelchair accessible.
Yeah.
So this whole thing about the Spike thing came about where we said, why is the bus not accessible for wheelchairs?
Right.
They countered with, and they should have known that, it's a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
They should have, that should be accessible to everyone if possible. Making the island, the boat over is not ideal either on either side.
Okay.
They've kind of little sort of, I forgot what they got, pontoon bridge type things made, but they're very dodgy. You still need people with you. But once you get onto the island, you should be able to then go up to see the fort and all the things that are going up. Yeah. And you can't because of that. And they said that it just wasn't feasible for them to have a bus specifically for that. But if you go back, because they're there since 2006 or something, they should have known from the very start that if they wanted disabled people or people in wheelchairs to be able to go up and see the attraction, that they need a bus.
Of course.
And they never provided it. They just left it. One of the things they said to me and Kay's sister when we went to them was, they don't get any complaints. You don't get any complaints because people don't think there's any point in complaining.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's what they have to do.
Of course.
But I'm sure there would be hundreds of incidents where people would struggle to get up that hill. They think that's just part of it. So anyway, and that's where we are now at the moment. We want them to make it accessible.
And they're not budging.
And they're not budging. They're saying they haven't the money for a bus. And so we're saying back, I said to them just last week, that's an acceptance that you're wrong.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you would be saying, no, we don't have to.
Yeah.
Well, what you're saying is we don't have the money.
Yeah.
We should be doing it, but we don't have the money. So I said, all your problem is money. You're a tourist attraction. You've got to use some of your money. And I'm sure it's true, there are grants available if you have a tourist attraction to make it accessible to people in wheelchairs. You get some money paid towards it. So just buying a bus is all they've got to do.
Yeah.
And so that's where we're at
Now,
a minute.
they were going to honour Kay.
Yes. I had
Tell us a bit about
in
that.
my mind. Before we had the controversy with the bus, that's why we went to meet them because they were going to, because she was the only person more famous from around there was Sonia O'Sullivan,
Oh, right.
who was also from Cove.
Yeah.
In fact, there's another little story. I went down one time with Kay for her to be presented with a little memento. It's a little plaque. Cove Sports Person of the Year. I forget what year now it was.
Yeah.
And the Lord Mayor and we're all there and
Brilliant.
sitting on the stand, and she got the thing. But who was runner-up in that competition? Sonia O'Sullivan.
Really?
She was second. Kay had won one of the marathons. It was after one of the marathons.
Yeah.
I think maybe the third one after the three in a row.
Yeah.
And Sonia had won the under-23 World Championship. But anyway, she was second to Kay.
That's gas, isn't it?
Kay used to get a great laugh out of that. I beat Sonia O'Sullivan. A bit of a joke. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
What were we saying? Yeah.
So they were going to honour her.
Yeah. They said they asked me if I had mementos and medals and things, which I had a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And so they were going to do a permanent, not memorial, that's wrong, a tribute to her on the main, in the main building up on the fort.
In Spike.
In Spike. And so we went over, myself and the sisters again, over and met them. And they were very nice and all. But first thing was that the fourth floor is where they were going to do the tribute.
Okay.
And there was no lift. So you couldn't have a tribute to Kay.
It was a wheelchair, yes.
For her wheelchair, successes and not be accessible to other people in wheelchairs. So then they were talking about maybe having it down on the ground floor. And where they were talking about putting it was in a corner near the toilets. And so we didn't like that either.
Yeah.
But that was only discussions as to where it would go.
Okay.
They were going to do it anyway when it was achievable. So I gave them all, I still have them, I gave her all loads of stuff to do with her. Medals and pictures and, and all of that. And so that's the way it stood. Until then we started to try to make it accessible.
Right.
The same thing applied with the no lift, would apply to the one where people would go over to see the tribute if it was there. They still wouldn't have been able to go up that hill.
Yeah, of course.
So that needed to be sorted as well. And so we decided the best way to do it was to get that sorted first. Get it established as a thing they had to do because to make it accessible. And if we achieved that, the other bits would come afterwards.
Yeah.
Where exactly it was going to be and making the boat trip both ways more accessible than they are at the minute as well.
Right.
So that's what's going on now at the minute. They're saying they haven't the money for the bus, and we're saying you have to have a bus.
Yeah.
They say, I know, COVID hit us badly and all of these usual things.
Excuses.
But they're a money-making operation. They're only in business because they make money.
Of course.
Also, there's another side to it where the council said that this Spike Island development was a private enterprise. It was they owned the island, but they were a private enterprise.
So the council don't have to do it.
Yeah. It turns out now, Kay's sister Anne's husband, Alan, he did some research. Very good man for research and
Right.
things. Himself and Nan are both sort of activists in various protests and things down there. Very
Right.
good. Anything that needs doing in the town, they're on top of it. They'll try and help
Very
you.
good.
But he did a lot of research, and the council owns it, lock, stock and barrel.
Right.
So that's gone. They can't use that anymore. And we went down last weekend, or the weekend before, and we met some of the councillors. They were on the council meeting. We got a petition with 1,000 signatures
Yeah.
to hand in to protest against the fact that it wasn't accessible and that it was needed to be provided. And they still was telling us that on the way in, as we were stopping them on the way in. Well, it's not ours. And they were
Right.
saying, oh yes, it is. So hopefully we'll eventually get. We will. It's not hopefully. We
Praise
will.
God.
They'll have to.
They have to see sense.
I mean, if they weren't going to do anything about it and just refuse completely, you could make an issue of it. And the publicity, there's a lot of rich people in Cork.
Yes.
I'm sure somebody you come across, or
Of course.
a few people, or GoFundMe, or one of those things.
Or one of them.
So,
Yeah.
we will. We're in the infant stages of that
Very
campaign,
good.
and we will achieve it.
And when was this celebration of K to take place?
It's supposed to take place this year, gone
Right.
now, it's gone past, early on this year. So hopefully by next year, 2024,
Praise God.
maybe spring, something around that time, we'll be able to have that, and it'll be great.
Yeah, there'll be elections next year for the councils, so it'll be in the run-up to the...
That's a very good point. I didn't know that.
I think
It's
it's
a
June.
pleasure.
Do they elect
think-
every year, or is it?
I think it'll be in June, every 5 years, but
Every 5 years,
it
so-
falls,
oh,
it'll
that's
fall
a
in
good-
June of
that's a good-
2024.
So a lot of the councillors we met, the councillors were there on the way in, and they were all sort of nodding their head in agreement and saying, "Oh yes, oh yeah, that should be acceptable. Oh yeah, I can see. We'll discuss that. We must discuss that." And in the evening, the Morning Ireland, the radio, contacted Anne for her to go on that Thursday
Yeah.
in the morning to discuss the thing, to report on it. And by the time that evening come, they had come back to her and said they pulled it. We might do it sometime in the future. They didn't say anything bad or anything like that, so but they pulled it. And so I don't know what kind of a council meeting they had or what was discussed,
Yeah.
but it seems like they're trying to get it onto the back burner now.
Right.
But it won't happen. It won't work. We'll get it done. For Kay,
Praise
we'll make
God.
sure it happens. Yeah.
Praise God. Well, Michael, thanks so much for coming in
Not at all.
and
It was a
telling a
pleasure.
wonderful story about a wonderful
pleasure.
lady.
Interesting,
Oh,
yeah.
she was fantastic.
It's been a pleasure to talk to you.